Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. First of all, Ramadan Mubarak to all of you guys that are participating. And yes, I have treated myself to a Golf GTI. So yes, you are now joining me in my Mk8 Golf GTI, which I took delivery of yesterday. I've traded in my red Golf GT edition for this car. When I bought the Golf GT edition, that was kind of like a car that I was thinking of buying to get me around, do the daily kind of chores and whatnot, to sit alongside the A7. But there wasn't really much in it. It felt pretty much like just a bog standard car, even though you had a few nice extra options fitted to that car, like the pan roof and probably a few other bits and pieces. It just didn't give me that kind of driving appeal, and when I drove the Mk8 GTI, I really fell in love with it. And earlier on I was talking to one of my friends and he reminded me that I always actually wanted a GTI. So going back, let's say 12-13 years, when I qualified as an accountant, I actually went to the VW dealership and I was looking at a Mk8 Golf GTI at that time, but unfortunately I didn't go and buy that car. I ended up buying, I don't know, a C-Class or something like that. Then a few years ago, as you may remember, for those of you that follow the channel, when I was coming out of the G23 series, I was considering a GTI at that time. I went and I had a look at a Golf GTI and I tried to spec one. These cars were brand new at the time. Tried to spec one, and then with COVID and with everything else that was going on with the shortage of chips, the lead time was something ridiculous, and at that time I ended up buying a Porsche Macan S, which was completely different to something like this. But I always had like a soft spot for a Mk8 GTI, or just generally a GTI, and here we are now. We are actually in a Mk8 GTI, which I just picked up, like I said earlier, only yesterday. So in this vid, the idea being is I'm going to give you a little walk around of my GTI and give you my first kind of impressions as to how I feel this whole kind of cabin and everything all kind of fits in. So my Mk8 Golf GTI is finished off in the King's Red. I believe this is a pearl colour. I really like this colour because it just sets off all the black accents around the car. This one has the 18-inch Richmond alloy wheels. I know they kind of split a bit of opinions. Some people like them, some don't. We'll see how we kind of go along with this kind of setup over the next few months. Now, the thing with the Mk8 GTI was that it really did split opinions in the way the car looks, but now that there's more of them on the road, I think they just look, you know, a lot more modern compared to the Mark 7 and the 7.5, and that's my view. I mean, I had the 7. One of the things I found with that was it just started looking quite dated. So this is the power plant of the Golf GTI. It's a 2-litre 4-cylinder turbo engine. It produces 245 horsepower, 370 newton meters of torque. As you can see, there's no engine cover on there, and I think one of the reasons was earlier models, the engine cover, because you got the turbo right behind there, the engine cover was getting heated and there were like some of them that were actually burning away, so they just decided to remove them. I might put one on at some point, but we'll see how we get on. So one thing that most people have highlighted is that the Mk8 now comes with one of these bonnet struts rather than a hydraulic one. You can fit the hydraulic one from up here down to somewhere down there, I believe. Might be something that I do, but to be honest with you, I'm not really going to be opening this up. I'm not going to really be modifying this myself, so yeah, it is what it is, isn't it? And one of the things that I really do like on this car is the tech. Now, it has split opinions in that, you know, you've got all of these different screens going on and whatnot, but bearing in mind that I've got an Audi A7 that has got a very similar kind of tech as well, I've had no issues, you know, in terms of like getting into this car and fiddling with all the different screens and whatnot. If you're coming out from like say a Mark 7, 7.5 into this, yeah, you're probably going to struggle, like, you know, with all of the kind of haptic feedback and stuff. I'll cover all of that in a different vid, but for me, I literally just got myself in this car, didn't really need a handover, and just drove away from the dealership. I really like the way this car looks. It's got a real purposeful stance. From the rear end, you've got like the twin exhaust pipes, which are slightly further away. GTI badge is now in the center, and moving around the front end, you know, you've got the matrix headlights on this, which is pretty much the same technology as I've got on the A7. So tech that's from like the bigger cars, the more expensive cars that are now sort of filtering their way into this GTI. So I think from an overall package, I'm really excited. So from the front end, you've got this honeycomb grille that's like one piece that runs all the way along, and I've got my fog lights on so you can just kind of see what they look like. That's like a GTI GTD kind of thing as well, which is quite nice and unique. I like the way you've got this kind of like a red trim that runs all the way along from, like, say, the front grille. You've got like the light bar that goes all the way across as well. Bit of a monobrow, I believe, but there we are. And these lights, they're like the matrix LED headlamps, which is pretty cool. We've also got sweeping indicators, which I think look pretty cool on this Mk8. Stand back here, you can see them. And then around the back, you got these fancy IQ lights as well, and again you got like a sweeping indicator. So let me know, guys, what you think of these Richmond alloy wheels. These are 18 inches with Bridgestone tyres. I might be at some point changing the whole setup in terms of the alloy wheels and the tyres as well. One cool thing that I really like about this is that it's got a heated steering wheel, and I've not had a feature like that before. So when it comes on, when the temperature or outside temperature drops below, I think it's 11 degrees or whatever, it really warms up the steering wheel. Like, it gives it that nice ambient sort of feeling as well. And you got all of the extra kind of lighting that goes around the whole interior, which really brightens up the place. The first thing that you notice is when you get in the car and you start seeing, like, you know, all of the screens and like the whole interior, the way it's been redesigned, it definitely feels like it's at least 2 levels, if not more, above the previous generation Mark 7 7.5 in the way the car is just kind of set up. So one thing that I've always liked about the GTIs have been the seats and the design of them. So since the Mark 5, they've reintroduced the tartan pattern, harking back to the Mark 1 GTI, and ever since the Mark 5, in each edition that's come after it, they've always evolved those kind of seats. Now in this particular Mark 8, the seat is a one-piece seat, in that meaning that the headrest is integrated into the seat. Now the last time I had like a one-piece seat was in my M4, and I know this car is nowhere as powerful as that, and it's probably not as powerful as most cars that I've actually had. It's the little things like the seats and the driving position that really make you engaged into the driving experience. So I'm really excited, you know, to see how these kind of seats live up to that driving experience of a GTI. So if I give you like a point of view shoot, this is exactly how it kind of looks like from the driver's seat. You've got your main infotainment screen there, you've got your driver's display over there, you've got a little pod over here with all your lighting. So, you know, you got your shortcuts to your heating there as well, if you want to just quickly heat up your front screen or your rear screen, your fog lights and whatnot. And then down here you've got a little gear switch. It's a bit like what you get in like the new Porsches, I believe. It is literally just like a little switch rather than having like a gear lever essentially. And then you've got your auto hold, your handbrake, your park, and your start button there. And this steering wheel, you've got these kind of buttons here, which are, it is literally like a whole one button, but I've not really had any problems. Like some journalists have been saying that, you know, you can accidentally hit these. To me, they are well placed. I mean, if I just put the car on, you'll see it all kind of light up. And then you've got the GTI dials over there. Welcome cabbie, yeah, that's me. You can do okay to that. And then this is everything else that you kind of get. So you obviously, you know, you get all your tiles and infotainment screens there, and then this is like your home page essentially. You can go into your vehicle and it kind of loads up, and it's quite nice just to kind of see, you know, you've got a Golf GTI there as well, and you can set up all the different kind of functions. So one thing that I do like is this steering wheel, the way it feels. You've got the thumb cutouts here. You know, it's flat bottom as well, which is quite nice, and you've got the all important GTI lettering over there. Honestly, from all the cars that I've had, from all the performance cars, etc., this steering wheel has got the best feeling of any hot hatch that I've ever been in, and even for that matter it feels way better than, like, say, the steering wheel that I had on my M4. So for example, around the sides here you've got these real nice sort of contours where, you know, you can put your palms and your hands. The only downside to the steering wheel are these very small plastic looking sort of paddles. Now again, I'm probably going to retrofit something like a slightly bigger paddle shifter. You've got the new VW logo, which is kind of like a mirror effect, as you can see there. You can see my camera, but yeah, everything else seems to be quite good. I mean, you've got different views there. For example, you know, you've got, that's your GTI view, then you've got like a more of a classic view. You can change each one of those information that goes inside. So for example, I can go into that one and I can change it to power, pressure, blah blah blah, but I really like to have just the operating temps there, and then obviously that tells you your date in the middle and whatnot. The next view here is you can have your sat nav. The downside here I find is if you've got your sat nav on this screen here, for example, then you can't have it displayed there. So for example here, if I go into settings, no, if I go into map, I believe it is, and I then say show in the cluster, I get that there like a compass, and then I get the map in the driver's display. I can't do it like the way I can in the Audi, where I can have the map there and in the driver's display. That's a bit odd. Nevertheless, moving on, this view here is essentially when you've got your adaptive cruise control on, so you know, you'll do all the lane departures and all of that stuff. This one again is just like a speedo in the middle. I do prefer this one, as this is like the classic GTI dials. So you've got like the engine start stop button there, which is pulsating, which clearly means that let's go ahead and start this car. Go on the brake, give it a start. One thing that I do like about those dials is that the inside of it over there has got like a hex pattern, which, you know, kind of mirrors like the front grille of the car as well. So right now the car is in just its normal mode. It is warmed up, so put it into the sport mode, for example. Sport. Instantly you can feel there's like a valve that's opened up. It's got a soft limiter. There is quite a bit of sound that's piped through. See what it sounds like from outside. So I know that didn't probably sound that great because, one, it's a 2-litre 4-cylinder car. It's peppered with all of like the EU regulations in terms of, like, say, the OPF and all of the sound deadening, and it's got a soft limiter as well. But when the car is really warmed up and you've been out for a spirited drive, it does crackle and pop just a little bit. It's not overly loud or anything like that. I mean, there's things that we can do to it, like, you know, let's do like an OPF delete or something. We can do an OPF back box or something like that. All of these things are, you know, options that I currently have to get this car to a point where I want it to not only look good, if I decide to change, like, say, the alloys and, you know, do some styling modifications and some exhaust mods as well. So, you know, the options on this car are endless at the moment, and I'm really committed to actually making this car feel that little bit more special compared to how it is at the moment. I am really impressed with the way this car is out of the box. I am going to do that first drive vid. I'm waiting for my GoPro to come through because I smashed my last GoPro. It fell off the car when I was videoing, but hey, you know, that's all gonna sort of come through over the next sort of week or so. And one of the reasons why I didn't really do much filming on the Mk8 GT is because my heart wasn't in it. Whereas with this car, it's something that I'm really excited about. So if I'm excited about something, then I can really portray that across to you guys through my channel. I really hope that you do continue the support. If you have enjoyed this vid, give it a like, share, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. And hopefully, guys, I'll see you on the next one. Take care. Bye.